A gift of God. In the dusty heart of rural Oklahoma, where the wind whispered secrets through endless fields of golden wheat, lived a man named Elias Thorne. He was 42, with calloused hands that told stories of endless labor and a face etched by sun and sorrow. Elias had once been a dreamer, the kind who stared at the stars on clear nights and believed they held promises just for him. But dreams have a way of withering under the weight of reality, especially in a town like Willow Creek, where the population sign proudly declared, 1,247 souls, and declining. Elias's wife, Clara, had passed 5 years ago from a sudden aneurysm, leaving him with their daughter, Lily, who was now 12 and sharp as a tack. Lily had her mother's eyes, deep brown pools that sparkled with curiosity, and Elias's stubborn streak. They lived in a weathered farmhouse on the outskirts of town, the kind with creaking floorboards and a porch swing that swayed lazily in the summer breeze. The mortgage was a noose tightening around his neck, and the farm. It was a graveyard of failed crops and broken equipment. Droughts came and went like uninvited guests, and this year, the bank had sent its final notice, foreclosure in 30 days. "Pa, you gotta pray about it," Lily said one evening as they sat at the scarred oak table, picking at a meal of beans and cornbread. The kitchen light flickered, casting long shadows that danced like ghosts. Elias chuckled, though it sounded more like a rasp. "Prayer ain't filled our bellies yet, darlin'. God's got bigger fish to fry than us thorns." Lily's brow furrowed. She was the faithful one, dragging him to the little white church on Sundays where Reverend Hayes preached fire and brimstone with a twang that could curdle milk. Elias went for her sake, dozing through the sermons, but lately, even that felt like too much effort. Faith had slipped through his fingers like dry soil when Clara died. Why would God take a woman like her, vibrant, kind, the glue that held their world together, and leave him floundering? The next morning, as the sun clawed its way over the horizon, Elias hitched up the old Ford truck and headed to the feed store in town. The air was thick with the scent of impending rain, but the sky mocked him with its relentless blue. At the counter, old Mr. Hargrove slid the bag of seed corn across, his eyes pitying. "Heard about the bank, Eli? Tough break. You thinkin' of sellin' off some land?" Elias gripped the counter, knuckles whitening. "Ain't got much left to sell, Hank. Just pride and a prayer." Hargrove nodded solemnly. "Well, there's that new program from the government, subsidies for small farms. Might be worth a shot." Elias grunted noncommittally. Government handouts felt like charity from strangers, and he was too proud for that. As he loaded the truck, a sleek black SUV pulled up, kicking up gravel like it owned the road. Out stepped a man in a crisp suit, looking as out of place as a peacock in a henhouse. He had silver hair slicked back and a smile that gleamed like polished chrome. "Mr. Thorne," the man called, extending a hand. "Name's Victor Langford. I'm with the Langford Foundation. We've been watching your farm, your situation." Elias eyed him warily, wiping sweat from his brow. "Watchin'. Sounds creepy, Mr. Langford. What do you want?" Victor laughed, a smooth, practiced sound. "Nothing sinister, I assure you. We're a philanthropic outfit, focused on rural revitalization. Heard about your wife's passing, the drought, tough times. We're offering a grant. No strings, just a chance to turn things around." Elias's stomach twisted. Grants. Sounded too good, like the snake oil salesman who'd rolled through Willow Creek back in his youth. "How much we talkin'?" "Enough to cover the mortgage and then some. Seed money for new equipment, irrigation systems. But there's a catch, or rather, a condition. We like to see the impact firsthand. I'd need to visit, chat with folks, maybe even stay a spell." Elias hesitated. Pride warred with desperation. Lily's face flashed in his mind, her gap-toothed smile fading under the strain of skipped meals and late-night worries. "All right," he said finally. "But if this is some scam." "Scout's honor," Victor replied, though Elias doubted he'd ever been one. That night, as thunder rumbled in the distance, the first promise of rain in months, Elias couldn't sleep. He wandered out to the porch, the swing creaking under his weight. Stars blanketed the sky, indifferent witnesses to his turmoil. "If you're up there, God," he muttered, "a sign wouldn't hurt. Something real." The next day brought the rain, a gentle patter that swelled into a downpour, soaking the parched earth. Lily whooped with joy, dancing in the mud puddles, her laughter a balm to Elias's soul. But joy was fleeting. The following week, Victor arrived with fanfare, A crew of workers, blueprints for drip irrigation, and a check that made Elias's eyes water. 6 figures. Enough to save the farm, rebuild the barn, and maybe even send Lily to college one day. Victor proved more than a benefactor, he was a storyteller, regaling them over dinners of fresh steak, a luxury Elias hadn't known in years, with tales of his own humble beginnings. Born in a trailer park outside Tulsa, Victor had clawed his way to wealth through tech startups and savvy investments. "Luck's got nothing to do with it," he'd say, winking. "It's about seeing the gift in every setback." Lily adored him, hanging on his every word. Elias. He was grateful but guarded. There was something about Victor's eyes, too sharp, too calculating. Whispers in town didn't help. Langford Foundation. More like a tax dodge for the elite. But the money flowed, and the farm bloomed. Wheat fields turned lush green, the creek swelled, and for the first time in years, Elias felt the stirrings of hope. One crisp autumn evening, as harvest moon hung low, Victor pulled Elias aside in the barn. The air smelled of hay and possibility. "Eli, I've got a proposition. Bigger than the grant." Elias leaned against a post, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Bigger how? Your story, it's gold. Resilience, faith, redemption. I'm starting a documentary series on everyday heroes. Gifts from above. We'd film here, your life, the turnaround. National exposure. Book deals, speaking gigs. You and Lily could be set for life." Elias's heart raced. National. The word tasted like adventure, like the dreams he'd buried with Clara. But doubt crept in, cold as winter wind. "And what's in it for you, Vic? Fame. Fortune." Victor clapped him on the shoulder. "Truth. Legacy. I've got the money, but not the soul. This farm, your grit, it's the real gift. From God, if you believe that sort of thing." Elias did believe, in that moment. Or at least, he wanted to. That night, he knelt by his bed for the first time since Clara's funeral, words tumbling out like pent-up rain. "Lord, if this is your hand at work, guide me. Don't let me screw it up." The filming began in earnest. Crews swarmed the farm like locusts, cameras capturing Lily feeding the chickens, Elias tilling the soil at dawn, Victor narrating with that velvet voice. Town folk gathered for interviews, sharing how the Thorns had weathered storms that would break lesser men. Reverend Hayes even quoted scripture, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights." Lily thrived under the spotlight, her natural charm winning over the producers. She started a journal, scribbling thoughts on faith and family, which Victor insisted become part of the narrative. "Kids see the divine clearer than we do," he'd say. But cracks appeared as winter loomed. Elias overheard a phone call one frosty morning, Victor in the guest room, voice low and urgent. "Yeah, the angle's perfect. Heartland hero, divine intervention. Ratings will skyrocket. Just keep the auditors off my back, the Foundation's books are creative." Elias's blood ran cold. Creative books. He confronted Victor that afternoon, the sky laden with snow clouds. "What's this about auditors, Vic? You using us for some shell game?" Victor's smile faltered, then returned, tighter. "Eli, it's nothing. Tax stuff, every big org deals with it. This is bigger than that. Think of Lily." "Lily ain't a prop," Elias snapped. "And neither am I. If this gift's from God, it don't come with fine print." The argument hung between them like a storm cloud. Victor left that night, citing pressing matters in the city, but promised to return. The crew packed up, leaving the farmhouse echoing with emptiness. Elias tore down the temporary lights, smashed a prop lantern in frustration. Was it all a mirage? The farm was saved, yes, but at what cost? Snow fell that night, blanketing Willow Creek in hush. Lily found Elias on the porch, bundled in his old coat, staring at the white expanse. "Pa, you look like you lost your best dog." He pulled her close, her head fitting perfectly under his chin. "Just wonderin' if God's gifts come with thorns, darlin'." She tilted her head up, eyes wise beyond years. "Mama used to say the best ones do. Like roses. You gotta prune 'em to grow." Her words lingered as days blurred into weeks. The documentary aired in spring, a primetime special on PBS that drew millions. Clips went viral. Elias's tearful toast to Clara, Lily reciting Psalm 23 under the harvest moon. Offers poured in, interviews on CNN, a memoir deal from a New York publisher. But Elias demurred, focusing on the land. He planted a community garden on the saved acres, inviting neighbors to share the bounty. "Ain't just mine," he'd say. "God's plenty for all." Victor resurfaced in summer, unannounced, driving that same black SUV. He looked thinner, shadows under his eyes. No crew this time, just him, hands empty save for a bottle of bourbon. "Eli, I owe you an apology. The foundation, it crumbled. Embezzlement charges. I cooked the books to keep it afloat, thought the exposure would save us. But it was greed, plain and simple." Elias studied him, the man who'd seemed invincible now frail as autumn leaves. "Jail time." Victor nodded. "Plea deal. 5 years. Lost everything, the cars, the penthouse. Even the wife." Silence stretched, broken only by cicadas. Elias sighed, gesturing to the porch swing. "Sit. Lily's inside back in pie. You like apple." They talked till dusk, Victor unburdening his soul, the loneliness of wealth, the hollow chase for more. "I thought I was the giver," he admitted, voice cracking. "Turns out, you gave me something real, a reminder that gifts ain't hoarded. They're passed on." Elias nodded slowly. "Bible says it's better to give than receive. But receivin' ain't so bad when you know the source." Victor stayed for dinner, Lily chattering about school, oblivious to the undercurrents. As he left, he pressed an envelope into Elias's hand, a flash drive with unaired footage, raw and unpolished. "For you. The real story." Elias watched the clips alone that night, outtakes of Lily praying in the fields, him whistling an old hymn while repairing the tractor. No gloss, just grace. He wept then, not from loss, but gratitude. The farm wasn't just saved, it was sanctified. Years rolled on like the seasons. Lily graduated top of her class, heading to Oklahoma State on a scholarship funded by the garden's nonprofit arm, Thorns Bounty, they called it. Elias, grayer now, mentored young farmers, sharing irrigation tricks and tales of unlikely saviors. Victor wrote from prison, letters filled with scripture he'd discovered in solitude. "Your faith rubbed off, old friend. Tell Lily I'm rootin' for her." One golden October day, as combines hummed in the distance, Elias stood at Clara's grave in the churchyard. Wildflowers nodded in the breeze, a riot of color against the stone. "You were right about the stars, love," he murmured. Full of promises. Lily joined him, arm linked in his, a young woman now with dreams as vast as the prairie. "Pa, Reverend Hayes wants us to speak at the Harvest Festival. About gifts." Elias smiled, the lines around his eyes crinkling like well-worn leather. "What'll we say?" She squeezed his hand. "That God's got a funny way of wrappin' 'em. Sometimes in rain, sometimes in strangers. But always with love." As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of fire and rose, Elias felt it anew, the weightless wonder of unearned favor. Willow Creek stretched before them, fields ripe and ready, a testament to thorns pruned and roses bloomed. In the quiet, he whispered thanks to the heavens, knowing the greatest gift wasn't the land or the legacy, but the quiet assurance that grace, like the wind, moved unseen yet undeniable. And in that moment, under the watchful eye of a benevolent God, Elias Thorne understood. Some gifts aren't meant to be grasped, but lived.